Afterwards, because I tend to just talk about one thing and then people have questions about a whole bunch of other things I never even think of talking about. So the first thing I'm going to talk about right now is my training for the marathon. I'm training for the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon. It's October 16th. I think Brandon's doing the same one. And this will be my 4th marathon. And the reason why I'm doing this marathon is to solidify my spot for the Olympics. I still have to jump through a few hoops to get there, even though I have the qualifying time. I really think there's a few other guys knocking the door, so instead of letting them beat my time or watching them beat my time, I'm going to go line up and hopefully be ahead of them and solidify my spot. So, and who here has run a marathon? A lot of people? Alright, good. So people kind of know what I'm talking about a bit. Yeah, so marathon, for me, fairly new. 2009 was my first one. I did 2 that year, 1 last year, and this will be my only one this year, coming up in 8 weeks' time. And today was actually my biggest day ever. I ran 45K this morning, and from 32K to 42K, I covered that 10K in 30 minutes and 48 seconds. So, yeah, if I take a seat soon, like, you know why, I'm pretty tired. Yeah, training's been going really well. I don't think I'll ever run more than 45K again before my marathon. And in fact, I don't think I'll ever really train more than 45K leading up to any marathon. I think doing a bit of over distance is fine, but it's the first time I've ever done it as well. So anybody out there training for a marathon that think they need to run 45K, you don't need to. 38, 37, whatever, that will get you to the line. And you know, I was able to PB off of that as well, but I'm trying to push the boundaries a little bit and see where this is going to go. So this week, well, I've run 182K so far this week, and I still have 2 days to go. So, yeah, like 230K will be the highest week of my build-up. That's 8 weeks out. And then my second, third highest week will still be to come. Also in my build-up, I like to race a couple times. So, the after a 10-miler was last weekend. That's also, as I mentioned before, I'm not doing this race, too close. So I did a 10-miler 9 weeks out, and then I will do a half marathon 6 weeks out. So I really recommend the half marathon distance, anywhere 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks out, just to kind of break up training more than anything. Some people try to really extrapolate a half marathon to a marathon, but it's actually so different that it's hard, but there's still value in it because it breaks up training. I think you're trying to check your fitness and just gotta get used to racing and get out of the training mode. Training every day. I don't run fast except for twice a week, and when I do, it's all at marathon pace. So it just becomes monotonous to do it all the time, and to have a race really breaks it up. So that's kind of why I race in the build-up, and I would suggest anybody else do it too. Does anybody have any questions about marathoning in general? Yeah, I have actually. Trail running is actually what I really like to do the most. If I could do all my runs on trails, I would. And so yeah, like a 50K run, maybe something like Western States 100-miler, like way in the distance, would be really fun. But the only reason why I don't do it now is because it's not an Olympic event. So 2012 is just everything right now is focused on the Olympics, and also making it like there's no prize money to it. But as far as just interest, I think trail running is, you know, it's where it's at. It's a lot of fun, you know, and it's good for training, even for a road race. And then, so yeah, maybe 2014, 2015, you'll see me in some sort of event like that. Yeah.
You doing the 10K on Sunday?
This Sunday? No, I'm not doing the 10K this Sunday. 2 of my training partners are. So, and Rob Watson's one of them. He's actually from London, and he ran 40K today. So,
what time of day do you go for?
Rob will probably run under 30 minutes. Yeah. So, but if he doesn't run fast, I'm giving him an excuse right now. He ran 40K today, so I'm gonna be tired. But I think he's a tough guy. He'll still run fast. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, the question is, have I ever hit a wall? And yes yes and no. I haven't hit the real big walls where you run out of fuel. And the reason for that is I actually have a really good nutrition coach. So he's a guy who works for Power Bar, and he's been working with me ever since my first marathon. So even my first marathon, you know, there's so many unknowns. Nutrition was one thing I was actually really confident about because we had practiced so much in training. Sometimes I throw up these numbers and they're kind of hard to you know, process if you haven't looked at it before. But when I'm running a marathon, I'm taking in 50 grams of carbs an hour. Like a Power Bar gel is 27 grams of carbs, so basically 2 gels an hour. And when I take the gels, I mix them up with water beforehand, so I'm not, of course, juggling everything. And also half the time I'm taking a drink, but proportion. So nutrition-wise, I actually have been on the ball, so I'm thankful I haven't hit that wall because I've seen it before, and it doesn't look fun, and it's horrible. So. But as far as just my legs, like really good, just you know, it's super hard to run fast and you know and whatnot. Every marathon I've done, it has come at a certain spot, and each one it's come later. So my first one was at 32K, and that last 10K was just like really hard. I remember somewhere close to 40K looking down like Hawass because I thought they were gonna look different. Like they felt like I hadn't had that feeling before. I really thought I was gonna be angled, and then I ran the World Champs in Berlin, and I made it to about 35, 36K before I really started that, you know, every stride hurts kind of thing. And then in Toronto, luckily didn't come till 38K. But if anybody here has run the Scotia Waterfront Marathon, you know, from 38 to 39K, you get that hill over the Don Valley. Yeah. Anyways, over the highway there, and so that just kind of added to the. You know, you run 38K and then you get this hill. So now going into my fourth marathon, I'm hoping that you know that doesn't come till a little bit further. Hopefully 41, 42K. That would be really nice. But yeah, nutritionally, I mean, obviously it's super important. You're not going to be able to run a marathon fast without fueling. And a problem a lot of people run into is people think they have to fuel off the bat, so they wait till they get hungry. You know, they wait over an hour to the marathon, or 90 minutes, 2 hours, until they start feeling lightheaded or low energy and start taking stuff in. But it's kind of too late by then. I mean, it will still help, but you know, if you're waiting that long, it's you know, your best race days is already gone. So, and I really suggest practicing with things and really trying to figure out how much your stomach can handle, because it's getting used to it. Just like mileage, just like speed training, you actually have to get used to taking in, you know, tons and tons of carbs. So 40 carbs an hour is what I started with. In practice, I'll get up to 70 and just see, and sometimes that's a little too much, but I'll still bring it back to between 50 and 60 grams of carbs an hour in my race. And, for a cooler race, hopefully Scotia will be cooler this year, being in mid-October. My fluid level will go down, so I won't be sweating quite as much. So then I have to play with the concentration of carbohydrates. If you get like a normal mix, a powder mix, the recommended scoops per 500 milliliters of water gives you about a 7% solution mix, and I actually try to get up to about 12%, 11-12%, and that way I'm not taking it like more fluid than I'll need, because if it's going to be like 8 degrees or 12 degrees, you're not going to sweat like as much as it is like obviously like in the summer or even an 18-degree day. So you don't want to. I guess. Well, yeah, you don't want to overhydrate, because it's just waste of time, just too much weight and whatnot. So yeah.
Factor do you think your training partners is going to make your success?
Yeah, so my training partners are a huge factor in my success. I'm lucky enough, one of the guys I train with is Reid Coolsaet, and he ran 2:12:07, so he was only 45 seconds back from me in the last marathon. And really, when that's only a second per kilometer, so really when we're working out together, it's pretty much stride for stride. And even today, he had gapped me a little bit during that 10K. We finished together, but he was the one pushing the pace in the middle stages. And without him, yeah, it would be much harder to just stay on pace. And and also just having people. And I don't know if anybody here knows Rob, he's from London, but he's always a great guy to have in the group too, because he's he's always blabbing and he's telling jokes and stuff like that too. So just the camaraderie of it, really helps out. And of course, like we have a big training group too. So the three of us are running the marathon, but there's other guys running the half marathon and stuff too that will jump in and usually do 1.5 to 2/3 of our workout. It makes it a lot easier. Hopefully, we both push each other. Yeah, so the question is, like, do I run a marathon at an even pace? And yeah, I would try, if I could, I would run within a second each kilometer. And that's that's the best way to run one. It just happens that I haven't been able to accomplish it just because it gets so hard at the end that I end up slowing down, especially after 35K, my last one. My kilometer splits, or my 5K time segments from 0 to 5 all the way up to 35K were all within 10 or 15 seconds of each other. And then, so they're all within 15:15 to 15:30. And then within from 35-40K it was 16:04. So up and if I could just clean that up a little bit, that'd be perfect. So that's what I'm going to try to do this marathon is, if I can run 3:05, 3:06 every single kilometer, that's the best way to run fast, especially over longer distances. I found that out even the 10 mile I just ran last weekend. Last year it wasn't as competitive a race, so I just set out to run 3 minutes flat, and I was just basically 3 flat through the whole 10 mile, and I kept that pace. Whereas this year, with my training partners, Eric and Rob, and a couple other guys like Matt and Lizelle, there's a lot of people like tactics and pushing the pace and stuff. So sometimes we run 3:02 per K, and the next one would be 2:57, and so I came through the halfway faster, but my overall time was slower. I think that was part of it. It's just inconsistent pace, especially when you surge. You pay for it later on in a longer race. I'll continue to use it. Yeah. Yeah, so I try to get 10 hours of sleep a day, usually 9 hours at night, and then I take a nap during the day. The big thing I do too is I'll take it through today. So this morning, because we were running so long, we started at 7 a.m. So I was up at 5:20 just to make sure my body's up, and then started at 7 a.m. It was actually nice and cool then, and I'm taking in over 45. During the 45K, I took in almost 2 liters of water, and then right after, protein shake with banana and peanut butter and whatnot, and then I got a massage at about 2 p.m., which I really want. Obviously after 45K, your mind's going to be really tight, and then I took an ice bath right after the massage. So I'm always doing little things like that just to maximize my training. I'm sure I could do the same amount, but I just wouldn't get as much out of it. So yeah, sleep and nutrition, and just the small things like wearing compression socks when I travel. So when I get back in the car, I put on my CP socks, and like Xanogen creams, the anti-inflammatory cream. I'll use that on my legs as well. All these little things that just kind of add up, and sometimes I think how much is it going to really make a difference? But in my marathon, I only hit the Olympic standard by 6 seconds. So I'm like, well, you know what? If all these things add up to 6 or 7 seconds, it's worth it, right? So, yeah.
You get the wobbly legs.
Yeah, so when my legs start going later on in the marathon, I try to actually focus on my stride. So I just kind of, and not really think of how much further I have to go. I just think of good mechanics. Because it's really easy once you start getting the later stages of marathon to be on the ground for a long time and kind of get sloppy that way. So I think of still being quick on my feet, and and try to keep my upper body as straight as possible to a certain degree. I don't try to fight it to be like a robot, but sometimes you start getting sloppy. crouching over. So I think of, stand up straight, and I just think of form. It also just kind of takes my my thinking away from how much my legs are actually hurting.
Yeah, we'll just go 2 more questions. So, when is the Olympic team next? What's the criteria?
Okay, the criteria for the Olympic team is to run under 2:11:29, and which is a lot faster than the Olympic standard itself. 2:15 is the Olympic standard, but Canada, because we do so well, I think part of the reason we do so well in the winter sports, our expectations are so much higher. So we think top 12. Top 12 in a sport like running, where there's 200 countries competing and everybody can do it, it's obviously much tougher. So that's why our standard in Canada is much tougher. So we got to run 2:11:29 by mid-April of 2012. So what will likely happen is, well, it's so hard to say, but if people run standard this fall at Scotiabank, there's still going to be another chance through the winter and up to the London Marathon, the City Marathon in April, to hit standard. So even if somebody has standard now, if good guys are going to go run in London, the other people who have standard might have to go run too, just to make sure they don't get beat. Either that, or you're going to be sitting your computer refreshing all the splits and making sure your time's safe.
Okay.
I know you got
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm cross training. I do pool running. I try to go twice a week, but I usually only end up going once because it's kind of boring. Sometimes I'm better at it than others. But on Wednesday I did 35 minutes of pool running. I actually really feel like with pool running, you get a bit of recovery from it too, just being in the water and no impact. Like, so you gotta get the blood flowing but at the same time you're still doing a bit of aerobic exercise. So, and when I'm injured, that's kind of why I'm sticking to pool running, is because when I get injured, I'll do a lot of it. A lot of pool running, a lot of biking, and elliptical. The elliptical machine I also hate. It's like the most annoying machine in the world, but once you do a few sessions on it, you actually get used to it. I'm sure many people here have, and you can actually get your heart rate going pretty well on it. But it just takes like 5 or 6 solid sessions to get used to it. But yeah, once you get going, I think it's a good workout. Like aerobically. I can ask you more.
You guys have, let's just say 3 more.
Let's knock our hands out. So. Yeah.
What does it feel like to run a Olympic marathon?
Yeah, so when I ran 2:11, obviously I was really happy. It was a big PB for me. It was a 5-minute PB, but when I had run 2:16, it was in hot weather. So I really, in my head, I thought of myself as a 2:13, 2:14 kind of guy, because under ideal conditions. And luckily in Toronto last year, I did get ideal conditions. I was able to run 2:11. Yeah, to take another 2 minutes off is going to be really tough. If I can just take 2 seconds off per kilometer, that's Jerome Drayton's record. Sounds easy, but it's actually going to be really hard to do. But yeah, I think 2:10 in general is like a nice round number to aim for. So I'll be shooting for that with the next marathon, and if I don't do it this one, in years to come. And it's definitely out there. And I don't know, I might not even be the first guy to do it, right? Because Simon Baker, Eric Gillis, like other guys are aiming for it too. So hopefully I'm the first, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully somebody does it.
Anybody else?
What do you do for mental training? I think I coach a lot of people, and that's one question I always look up. So
Yeah.
close with that.
Sure. Yeah. Our team has a sports psychologist that we work with, and she's really good. And she comes in the beginning of the year and does group sessions, and then after that people will go see her like on a one-on-one basis if need be. I don't actually. Most of my mental training just comes from everyday running and training like for the marathon itself. And I find that the fitter I get and the better my workouts go, the better my head gets too. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So when they say like you go into a marathon, it's going to be 80% mental and 100% mental. It's like, yeah, it is if you train properly. You can't will yourself to a 2:10 marathon if you could sit on the couch. So yeah, it's like just day in day out. I just really focus and picture myself in the race and as good as I want to feel in the race, and I focus on that, I also know that it's going to hurt a lot too, so I kind of hope for the best and prepare for the worst type of thing. So when it does get really tough, towards the end, I'm ready for it, and I know I'm going to have to fight through it. But up until then, I just think that, the easier I can make, 305 per kilometer feel, the better. So doing a lot of pace work at 305 basically helps my mental confidence going into a big race. So, hope that helps, but
I might just take a minute. I know Reid on sort of another level too. Just with I've seen him do a few tricks on the stool, which maybe he'll show us next time he comes to London. But he also is an unbelievable skateboarder. And actually, you mind talking about that for a little bit? That skateboard mile. Do you mind?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so I'll tell another story about Brandon too after this. So yeah, I was at practice one day. My friends. I think I just made the statement actually that I could skateboard faster than I could run, and obviously the guys in my training group didn't believe me. So there's a track in Guelph right now. The new high school's gone in. They put pavement on. They haven't put the top layer on. I think they're still trying to wait to get the rest of the funding. So anyways, I went there by myself one day and did an 800 just to see if I could do the mile. And then once I kind of had enough, I was like, okay, I can do this. And then I called my friends, said, come down, do a mile. I skateboard that mile in 3:49, so faster than I could run. I run a basic equivalent of a sub 4 mile, but not 3:49. So. And my story about the mile in Brandon is we put on. Do you remember that mile we put on at University of Guelph? So our club put on this mile. I don't even know what it was for, but it was really small. And it was really just our training group. And I think we were doing part of a workout, or we had just done a workout the day before, so. We didn't really want to race hard, and we were just going to take it easy. And then Brandon showed up, and instead, when he shows up for a race, he knows he's going to go. He didn't drive from London to Guelph to dilly dally with us. So, so we let him go, and he had a pretty good lead. But we had the pack, the power of the pack, as it is. So we kind of switched up leads and just let him do all the work. They have 20 or 30 meters up front, and then we just gave it to him the last. But he held, I think he held off everybody except for me, so I kind of felt sorry for him that he came all that way. But we had to defend our home turf, right?
Now you're kind of returning the favor. So again, we just want to thank Reid so much for coming out. This is incredible. Look at this turnout. I wish there were more Reids and we could have this every hour. It's a place to be packed. But thanks again for coming out, guys, to hear Reid speak, and we'll definitely work on getting him to a race next year. We'll talk about what we need to make the prize money and all that good stuff. But please visit the exhibitors. They're obviously helping us put on this event as you're exiting. And again, thanks again, Reid.